Welcome to Stoned Stories with me, Paige. How are you? Whether you need an escape or just a moment to unwind, you're in the right place. Everyone loves a story, and everyone needs a break. So sit back and let me take you on a gemological journey. And while we're at it, let's get stoned. What if I told you that one of the most beautiful gems in the world isn't really a stone at all? That it isn't mined from the earth, it doesn't form under pressure, and it isn't even meant for us to find. Instead, it's built slowly, patiently, layer by microscopic layer, inside a living creature. A material designed not for beauty, but for protection. And yet somehow, it became one of the most cherished surfaces humans have ever touched. And since this weekend is the weekend of Mother's Day, there may be no better gem, or not quite gem, to talk about. Because this story is about something that protects, something that nurtures, something that builds beauty from irritation. Today, we're talking about the mother of pearl. Before we get lost in history and mythology, we need to understand something simple. Mother of pearl is not a pearl. They're related closely, but they are not the same thing. A pearl is a reaction. Something gets inside a mollusk, a grain of sand, a parasite, a fragment, and the creature responds the only way it knows how. It coats the irritant again and again with a smooth, shimmering substance called nacre. Over time, the irritation becomes something beautiful. That is a pearl. But mother of pearl, that's the nacre itself. It's the lining, the inner architecture, the protective layer that the mollusk builds naturally. Not around a problem, but a part of its own body. If a pearl is a scar turned into beauty, mother of pearl is the skin that makes healing possible in the first place. And that difference matters, because it changes how we see it. A pearl is rare, singular, a moment. But mother of pearl, it's abundant, structural, a quiet, ongoing act of creation. And yet, despite being more common, it has captivated humans for thousands of years. Shout out to our mothers, taking what makes them and covering their babies in whatever they have to offer, turning a seedling into a pearl that can stand on its own someday. And we all love a pun. Mother's Day, mother of pearl. But is this substance created from mollusks considered a gemstone? Now here is where things get interesting. Because if you're thinking, wait, this isn't a mineral, it's organic, it comes from a living animal, this can't be a gemstone. Well, you are right and you are wrong. It is all of those things, and it is still a gemstone. Because mother of pearl breaks one of the biggest rules. It's not geological, it's biological. And yet, it is still classified as a gem material. Why? Because in gemology, a gemstone isn't defined only by where it comes from. It's defined by a few key ideas: beauty, durability to some extent, rarity or desirability, and the ability to be cut, polished, or used decoratively. Mother of pearl checks all of those boxes. It has that unmistakable iridescence, that shifting play of color that looks like light bending on water. It can be carved, polished, inlaid into jewelry, instruments, architecture, and across cultures, it has been valued for thousands of years. So even though it's not a crystal, not a rock, not formed in the earth, it still earns its place among gemstones. In fact, it forces us to expand our definition of what a gem even is. Is there science behind that shimmer? Well, let's talk about the glow for a moment. Because mother of pearl doesn't sparkle like a diamond. It doesn't flash like a gemstone with facets. It moves. Its surface seems alive, colors sliding across it. Pinks, greens, blues, like oil on water or the inside of a cloud. This effect is called iridescent, and it happens because of structure, not pigment. Mother of pearl is made of microscopic layers of aragonite, stacked like bricks, with thin organic layers in between. Light enters and bounces in between those layers, which interferes with itself. The result is that color, that color that isn't really there, which means what you're seeing depends on how you look at it. And that's part of the magic. Aragonite is naturally occurring form of calcium carbonate, the same chemical compound found in limestone and seashells, but arranged in a different crystal structure than calcite. It forms in marine environments and within mollusks, making it the primary mineral that builds both pearls and mother of pearl. Mother of pearl has traveled, but not just across oceans, instead across belief systems, cultures, and centuries even. And everywhere it goes, it seems to gather meaning. In ancient Egypt, mother of pearl was associated with the cosmic waters. The Nile, the source of life, was mirrored in its shimmering substance. It was believed to hold protective qualities, especially for the journey into the afterlife. But if something could survive the ocean, build beauty from within itself, surely it held power. In fact, mother of pearl was found within the burial wrappings of Tutankhamun, often called King Tut. He was a young pharaoh of Egypt's 18th dynasty, who ruled around 1332 to 1323 BC, and became one of the most famous figures of ancient Egypt after the discovery of his nearly intact tomb in 1922. Within his burial wrappings were small pieces of mother of pearl, placed there as protective and symbolic materials for his journey into the afterlife. Its presence in his bandages suggests it was valued not just for beauty, but for its deeper meaning in the safeguarding the soul beyond death. And mother of pearl didn't lose its luster after the Egyptians. In ancient China, mother of pearl was deeply connected to wisdom and protection. It was often carved into intricate designs, used in furniture, ornaments, and even armor. There was a belief that its shifting colors represented the balance of forces, a harmony between chaos and order, something stable but never static. And there's a story from ancient China that represents the mothering effect of this incredible material. Long ago, in a quiet village, tucked between misty mountains and winding rivers in ancient China, there lived a poor boy named Liang. He had no family, no land, and no wealth, only his quick hands and a quiet kindness that seemed to follow him wherever he went. Each day, Liang worked along the riverbanks, gathering firewood or helping fishermen mend their nets. And though he had little, he gave what he could, sharing food, offering help, expecting nothing in return. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the water in gold, Liang noticed something strange caught in the reeds. It shimmered, not like a coin, not like glass, but with a soft, living light. Curious, he reached in and pulled free a small glowing pearl. He pulled it from a shell, glowing with the same vibrance. The moment he touched it in his hand, something shifted. The next morning, Liang awoke to find the small bowl of rice he had saved had doubled. The day after, it overflowed. His worn clothes mended themselves. His empty home slowly filled with warmth, food, and quiet abundance. But Liang did not become greedy. He shared what he had, just as he always had, and the more he gave, the more the pearl seemed to provide. Word spread. It always does. But soon the story of the boy and his miraculous pearl reached to the ears of a powerful and greedy landlord, a man who believed that anything valuable in the world should obviously belong to him. But one night, under the cover of darkness, the landlord's men came. They forced their way into Liang's home, demanding the pearl. Liang tried to hide it, but they searched everything. Desperate, heart racing, he made a decision in a single breath, and he swallowed it. The room fell silent, and for a moment nothing happened. Then everything did. A heat began to build inside him, deep, roaring, impossible. His body trembled, light spilling from beneath his skin. The air itself seemed to bend around him as wind howled through the small house. The men stumbled back in fear. Liang cried out, not in pain, but in something larger, something ancient. And then he changed. His body stretched and coiled, his form no longer human. Scales shimmered where skin once was, reflecting every color of sky and water. His eyes burned bright with power and wisdom beyond his years. Liang had become a dragon. With a thunderous roar, he burst through the roof and rose into the night sky, twisting through clouds, his long body gleaming like living light. The river below answered him. Rain began to fall. The land, once dry and struggling, drank deeply. Crops grew strong, the people prospered, and the landlord, he could only watch, powerless, as the boy he tried to steal from became something untouchable, something divine. From that day forward, it is said that a great dragon was seen flying above the rivers and fields, bringing rain, protecting the people, and guarding the balance between giving and taking. And some still say that if you stand by the water at dusk, when the light hit just right, you might catch a glimpse of something glowing beneath the surface. Not lost, just waiting. So like our mother of pearl, turning irritation into beauty, Liang valued his small piece of beauty, and when it was threatened, like any protective mother would, Liang did what he had to do to protect his pearl. And to this day, the dragon protects the people with the fiery passion and the love that our mother of pearl has for any of its own little pearl babies. Across the Pacific Islands, mother of pearl wasn't just decorative. It was essential. It was used to make fishhooks, tools, weapons, because its shimmer mimicked the flash of fish scales underwater. It wasn't just beautiful, it was functional magic. I think my new favorite magic is now functional magic. Well, a way of understanding the natural world, perhaps, and using its patterns to survive. Long before the islands rose fully from the sea, before the winds had names, and before the horizon was something you could trust, there lived a trickster, a hero, a demigod, who was never quite just one thing. His name was Māui. Māui was known for bending the rules of the world. He slowed the sun. He stole fire for humanity. He pulled secrets out of places no one else dared to reach. But one of his most powerful stories begins not with strength, but with inheritance. Māui did not wield an ordinary tool. His great fishhook, called Mana'ai Kalani in some traditions, was said to be fashioned from the jawbone of his grandmother. Now pause there, because in Polynesian cultures, ancestors are not gone. They are present. They are woven into the living world. And to carry a part of an ancestor, especially something as intimate and powerful as a jawbone, was not macabre. It was sacred. And the jaw is the source of voice, of lineage, and of identity. So Māui was not just carrying a hook. He was carrying a memory, guidance, and authority. But the hook was not just bone. You see, it was inlaid with mother of pearl. And this is where the story deepened. Because mother of pearl across Polynesian cultures is not simply decorative, as we mentioned. Instead, it is alive with meaning. Pulled from the inner shelf of ocean-dwelling creatures, it carries the essence of the sea itself. Its shifting colors mirror sunlight on water, the surface where worlds meet, sky and ocean, human and divine, known and unknown. To Polynesian navigators, masters of reading waves, stars, and subtle changes in light, that shimmer wasn't just beautiful, it was familiar and truthful. Mother of pearl reflects light in a way that changes depending on where you stand, which makes it a powerful symbol of perception, intuition, and hidden knowledge. So when Maui's hook was inlaid with it, that was not ornamental, it was intentional. The hook didn't just catch, It guided. It shimmered like bait in the water, like fish scales flashing beneath the surface. It spoke the language of the ocean. And more than that, it connected Māui to sea as something alive, responsible and sacred. One day, Māui joined his brothers on a fishing voyage. They doubted him, as they often did. He was smaller, unpredictable, way too clever for his own good. So they told him, no tricks, no magic, and Māui agreed. But Māui is Māui, and they drifted far from land into waters deeper than anyone dared fish. That is where he took his hook out, the jawbone gleaming softly, mother of pearl catching the first light of dawn. Instead of ordinary bait, he struck it with his own nose, using his blood as an offering because this was no ordinary catch. He cast the hook into the depths, past the realm of fish, past the realm of sunlight, into the unknown. And something answered. The line went taut, the ocean resisted, and the canoe trembled. His brothers panicked, shouting for him to cut the line. Whatever he had was too powerful, too dangerous. But Māui held firm. With the strength of his ancestors behind him, with the wisdom of the sea shimmering in his hook, he pulled. And from the depths, land began to rise. Mountains tore through the surface. Earth broke free from the water. Islands, vast, alive, permanent, emerged from the ocean's grasp. And in Māori culture, this becomes Te Ika a Māui, the fish of Māui. Today, we call these fish the Hawaiian Islands. This is more than a creation story. It's a story about connection between generations, between human and nature, between visible and invisible. And the jawbone represents ancestry, the past, the voice, the foundation. But the mother of pearl, that represents something else. Adaptability, perception, the ability to navigate uncertainty. Because the ocean is never still, never predictable. And survival, especially in Polynesian cultures built on voyaging, depended on understanding subtle changes. Light shifting on waves, colors beneath the surface, patterns most people would miss. Mother of pearl embodies that. It teaches that truth is not fixed, it changes depending on how you look. And when placed into Maui's hook, it transformed the tool into something greater. Not just a way to take from the ocean, but a way to listen to it. So when you think about mother of pearl, that soft, glowing surface, remember, it once lived inside something that survived the sea. It reflects not just light, but knowledge. And in the hands of a demigod, it helped pull entire worlds into existence. Now, in medieval Europe, the mother of pearl became a symbol of purity and protection. And it was often used in religious objects, reliquaries, rosaries, altar decoration. Its soft glow was seen as divine, almost otherworldly. Not flashy, not overpowering, but quietly sacred. A story in medieval times tells of how people believed the ocean could touch heaven. Long ago, on a cold and restless coastline, there stood a quiet monastery, and in it lived a young novice named Thomas, someone who noticed things others didn't. Every morning before dawn, he walked the shore, and one morning the sea was perfectly still, as if it were waiting. There in the sand, he found a shell, open, luminous, its surface shimmering with soft, shifting colors, like sunrise is trapped inside it. And at its center, a single drop of water, clear, perfect, and unmoving. Thomas remembered the old belief that oysters rose to the surface at dawn to drink the dew of the heaven. He carried the shell back to the monastery. At first, the others dismissed it, but when it was placed inside the chapel, something changed. The air softened, the candles steadied, and people who entered felt quieter, not healed, but held. Word spread, and eventually it reached the wrong ears. One night, a powerful nobleman came and took the shell by force, believing something too miraculous should belong to him. This reminds me of the dragon story. But you see, as he carried it away, the light began to fade, and step by step the shimmer dulled. The color vanished until all that remained was an ordinary shell. By morning, it had returned to the shore whole again, glowing. And that seemed to be when Thomas understood, even if I still don't. You see, this was never something to own. And Thomas, he realized it was not something to take. It was a vessel, a meeting place between heaven and sea. So he left it where he belonged this time. And from that day on, the monks spoke differently of such things. They no longer said the ocean held treasures. They said it revealed them. And that some beauty, like the soft glow of mother of pearl, is not meant to shine for everyone, only for those willing to slow down and look. By the Victorian era, mother of pearl had become a symbol of mourning and memory. It was used in jewelry meant to honor the dead, its pale, luminous surface representing something eternal, something just beyond reach. And once again, we see the same pattern: protection, transition, and transformation. And there's no paradox of value with our motherly gem. So here's something fascinating. Mother of pearl is relatively common. Compared to diamonds or emeralds or even high-quality pearls, it's abundant. And yet, its value has never really disappeared, because its worth was never just about the rarity, it was about the meaning. It's a material that doesn't pretend to be perfect. It shows layers, it shifts with perspective, it changes depending on light, and maybe that's why it resonates, because it reflects something human. Let's come back to where we started, Mother's Day, okay? There's something almost poetic about calling this mother of pearl, this material, because at its core, this is a story about creation and something uncomfortable, an intrusion, an irritation, and responding not with rejection, but transformation, layer by layer, patience and time, until something beautiful exists where there was once only disruption. And while mother of pearl itself isn't formed around irritation the way a pearl is, it is the system that makes the transformation possible. It's the foundation, the protector, the quiet architect behind the scenes. Today, mother of pearl shows up in places you might not even notice. In watch faces, buttons, instrument inlays, jewelry, it's everywhere. And yet, it rarely demands attention. It doesn't need to, because its beauty isn't loud. It's something you discover when you slow down. And then you always feel it, when you tilt it toward the light and actually look. So the next time you see that soft, shifting glow, that surface that seems to hold the ocean inside it, remember, you're not looking at a stone. It's still a gem. But instead of a mineral, you're looking at something alive, or at least something that once was. Something built over time and with intention. Something that reminds us that beauty doesn't always come from perfection, but layers. And maybe instead of leaving you with a question today, I'll leave you with an image. Create this image in your mind for me. It's a pearl, and allow that pearl to just generally represent your life. As much as you've carved your own path, that pearl was nurtured and grown and sculpted long before you could even comprehend who or what you were. And whether you like it or not, you will always be made from the pieces of your mother, as all of our pearls have been. So to our mothers out there, and to my mother out there, happy Mother's Day. Thanks for taking the time and the patience to stack all those layers on top of each other and make me into the pearl I am today. And before today's episode, I might have not quite understood why I reflect so much of my mother in my own shape. that concludes today's stone story. I hope to see you next week because the next episode is sure to be a gem.